Lucifer Morningstar 910 said, "Yeah, man, some of my PC gamer friends are like, get a PC. It's better, you can do this, that, and the other with it." My reply, dude, I'm old school. I just want to plug in and get straight into the game and play. I got a tablet for all that other stuff. Here's my 2 cents. First off, the whole do this and that argument PC gamers love to throw around really falls flat when you think about it. Sure, they'll boast about being able to multitask, run spreadsheets, edit videos, or even code on their rig. But seriously, who's buying a gaming PC to do their taxes? The reality is, most people have a smartphone, tablet, or even a basic laptop that can handle all of that. It's like trying to sell someone a Ferrari by saying, you can drive to the grocery store and also haul a trailer with it. Like, great, but that's not the main reason people want it. Consoles exist for a singular purpose: gaming. No fluff, no distractions, just pure gaming joy.
Wow, okay, that's not fair. That's not fair, though.
That's true.
Oh, wow.
What happened?
Device driver hung.
What a driver. Date. I literally installed it today.
All right, 20 frames per second.
That's lower than it was before.
I also set it to 4K native.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Okay, but HDR's working in this game. Hey, there we go. I hope this is a 30 FPS game on PlayStation. Oh, no. Okay.
Why is it crashing so much?
No, it's got this. It's got this, I believe. I believe it has the power of PC. The power of PC compels you.
And then there's the whole experience of having a console. It's not just about the machine, it's about the environment it creates. Think about how iconic that living room setup is. Big TV, surround sound, comfy couch. You're not just playing a game, you're setting the mood. You've got your snacks, dim lighting, and you're all set for hours of uninterrupted play. Compare that to sitting at a desk, staring at a monitor that reminds you of work, tweaking settings just to get the game to run right. It kills the vibe. PC gaming can feel like a job sometimes with all the updates, drivers, and compatibility issues. Consoles, you plug in, sit down, and you're in the game within minutes. And man, don't even get me started on how exhausting it is after a full day of working on a PC. For those of us making content or grinding away on projects, we're on our computers all day. By the time it hits 8 p.m., the last thing I want to see is a desktop interface. I'm not trying to manage tabs or fight Windows errors when I just want to play a game. On a console, it's pure escapism. No troubleshooting, no updates breaking things, just gaming. That simplicity is so underrated, and the problem is some PC gamers can't see the value in that. They act like being able to tweak every little thing is the pinnacle of gaming, but sometimes people just want a system that works without all the extra maintenance. Consoles are like the chill friend who's always down to hang out, no strings attached. And honestly, after a long day, that's exactly the kind of friend you need. Let me break it down for you. I've been in this game, keeping track of leaks, predictions, and insider info for over 1.5 years now, and I've proved so-called experts wrong time and time again. So when I say the PS5 Pro will likely be the best way to play GTA 6, you can bet I've done my homework. And if you'd watched my video, you'd understand where my predictions came from. It's all about the PS5 Pro's Ultra Boost mode feature, which doesn't even require developers to remaster the game for it to run better. But trust me, they'll remaster it anyway. Why? Because it's good business. Before players even think about purchasing a game, they're going to check if there's a PS5 Pro Enhanced label on it. That's just how things work now. So don't get caught up waiting for a patch list when the writing's already on the wall. Trust me, I've been calling these shots before most people even know there's a game to be hyped about. PC versus console debate. Yeah, if you want the best graphics and performance, sure, a PC might seem like the way to go. But do you really want to wait 3 or 4 years for PS5 games to hit PC? Just look at how long it took for Ghost of Tsushima to get there. It was a PS4 game. If all PS5 games launched day 1 on PC, I'd happily ditch my console. But that's not happening. Sony knows that, and it's why Xbox isn't selling. They've got no compelling reason to buy it. And let's not forget about GTA 6. That's not coming to PC anytime soon either. Can you believe some of the stuff people are saying about consoles? Being blunt, Xbox has really only got one piece of bad news to share. Their revenue from console sales is down 42%. And let's be clear, that's revenue, not units sold. Even with all those sales going on, seeing a drop in revenue is to be expected, even if they somehow sold more units. So yeah, that's the one piece of doom and gloom for Xbox right now. And here's the kicker. Consoles are dying. They're super expensive. And let's face it, they barely turn a profit. Microsoft's switched to this AMU metric, and you see Sony and Nintendo doing it too. Why? Because console sales alone are a terrible way to measure success. Sony might say they shipped 62 million units, but guess what? About 55 million of those were actually sold, and those numbers include PS4s, PSVR 2s, and the PS5 Slim, plus a bunch of PS5s that have never even connected to the internet. It's a mess. Trying to use console sales to gauge success is like measuring a fish's ability to fly. Just ridiculous. And then Speaking of craziness, Microsoft is the second richest company but has a questionable rep in the gaming world. They don't have a clear direction other than pushing Game Pass, and the few games they actually release are either mediocre or just plain bad, but somehow they're still raking in profits.
Full credit to Sony, and Microsoft for that matter. This generation of consoles, I would say, has retained its better value than a PC status for far longer than I anticipated, and it may be another year, even 2 years, before we can beat them with a brand new machine, but
So, you know how Horizon Forbidden West is still one of the best-looking games on PS5, right? Even after all this time, it's visually stunning, with lush environments that really show off the power of the PS5. Well, the funny thing is, even Horizon Zero Dawn, which came out years before, still holds up really well, especially since it runs at 60 FPS on PS5 now. That's why, when we first heard about a remaster for Zero Dawn, a lot of people, including me, thought, do we even need this? The original still looks great. But here's the thing, when you dive into what they've actually done with this remaster, you start to see why it was worth it. John Linneman over at Digital Foundry did a deep dive into it, and he breaks down just how much they've improved visually and performance-wise. For starters, this remaster was handled by Nix's, a studio that has a solid track record, and they've really gone all out to enhance the experience. They've pulled over a bunch of the next-gen features from Horizon Forbidden West, like the new material system and foliage upgrades, which make the game world look way more detailed than before. The terrain system has been completely replaced, so everything from the ground to the plants looks richer and more lifelike. When you fire up the game, one of the first things you'll notice is that you can import your save from the original PS4 version. So if you've already played the game, you don't have to start from scratch. You can jump right into New Game Plus and keep all your gear, which is pretty cool. But the real star here is the options menu. It's packed with so much more than the original game ever had. Now you've got all the gameplay, HUD, and accessibility options from Forbidden West, which means you can really tweak the experience to your liking. And performance-wise, they've added different modes, so you can choose between 30, 40, and 60 FPS, depending on how much you want to prioritize image quality versus performance. What's awesome is that the 60 FPS mode still looks super sharp, targeting around 1800p with dynamic resolution scaling, while the 30 FPS mode aims for native 4K. The anti-aliasing is much cleaner now too, so those jaggies you might remember from the original, pretty much gone. It even has PS5 Pro support built in, so if you're playing on that console, the game automatically adjusts for better performance. And if you've got a VRR, variable refresh rate, display, there's an unlocked frame rate mode as well. But let's talk visuals, because that's where this remaster really shines. The amount of detail they've added is insane. Like, they didn't just slap a fresh coat of paint on this game. Nix has reworked so many assets to bring them up to par with Forbidden West. For example, the foliage and terrain have been completely redone. If you take a close look, you'll see there are more types of plants, and they're all much higher quality. Even man-made areas like the stonework in Meridian look significantly better. The boost in detail is subtle in some places but really stands out in others, especially when you compare it side by side with the original. Water effects, which were kind of a weak point in the original, have been completely overhauled too. In the original Zero Dawn, the water looked pretty rough, with low-resolution reflections that felt out of place. But in the remaster, while it's not quite as stunning as in Forbidden West, it's miles ahead of what we got before. Reflections are much sharper, and the improved caustics, those light patterns you see underwater, really make a difference in making everything feel more realistic. They also upgraded the weather and environmental effects. The deforming snow tech from the Frozen Wilds expansion is now used throughout the whole game, and it applies to sand as well. Aloy's outfit even gets covered in snow as you move through it, which adds to the immersion. Lighting has seen a massive upgrade too. Nix's didn't just rely on new technology to improve it. it. They actually relit the entire game by hand. This means the lighting is way more detailed, especially in areas with complex shadows. They also added a new cloud system, the same one they used in Forbidden West, which looks amazing. It's like every element of the environment has been fine-tuned to look better. Even the character models have been updated. They didn't change the base models much, but the materials and textures they used for things like skin and clothing are more realistic now. Aloy in particular looks better than ever, with new details like peach fuzz on her skin and more lifelike hair. One of the biggest improvements, though, is in the way conversations are animated. In the original, some of the non-cutscene dialogue felt really stiff, but for the remaster, Nix has captured new motion capture data to make the facial animations and character movements look way more natural. It's not quite on the level of Forbidden West, but it's a huge improvement over what we had before. And beyond the visuals, they've also reworked the audio to support better surround sound and 3D audio. The mix sounds more dynamic, with better highs and lows, which makes the whole experience more immersive. All in all, when you look at everything they've done, it's clear that Nix's didn't just phone this one in. John Linneman said he was pretty skeptical at first, thinking the remaster might not be necessary. But after diving into all the improvements, he walked away impressed. It's also worth mentioning that this upgrade only costs $10 if you already own the original, which is a steal considering how much work went into it. John pointed out that while we've seen some remasters that are just minor visual touch-ups, this one feels like a much bigger leap.
Amazing things it could do that a PC can't do, even though it's PC parts inside of it.
So, here's what's going on with Crimson Desert and Sony. Pearl Abyss, the studio behind the game, shared an English transcript of their investor report, which sheds some light on why they turned down Sony's offer to make Crimson Desert a PlayStation console exclusive. Basically, Sony has been looking to partner with more South Korean developers and saw a lot of potential in Crimson Desert. They made an offer to publish the game, which would have locked the Xbox version out for a year. Sony pitched their usual benefits like marketing power and some unique incentives, which definitely caught Pearl Abyss's attention. However, in the end, Pearl Abyss decided to self-publish instead. They explained that when a game is published by someone else, the standard contract sees 30% of revenue going to platform fees, and the rest is split between the developer and the publisher. Since Pearl Abyss already has the capability to publish globally and has overseas branches, they figured it'd be better to just use their own resources, keeping more of the profit in-house. They also pointed out that another Korean game, Stellar Blade, signed with Sony because the studio behind it, Shift Up, doesn't have a dedicated publishing team, which Pearl Abyss does. As for the game itself, Crimson Desert is basically finished on PC, and they're now working on optimizing it for the PS5. The studio expects to sell around 3 to 4 million units, but they think it could end up selling even more. Interestingly, Sony tried to compare Crimson Desert to Ghost of Tsushima when pitching their offer, noting how well that game performed for them. But despite all the perks Sony could have brought to the table, Pearl Abyss figured they could make more money on their own, so they passed on the deal. What's cool here is how the game draws inspiration from Red Dead Redemption 2 and Breath of the Wild, offering a ton of freedom and decision-making that influences the story. In the end, this just shows that Sony's not afraid to try money-hatting games like this, basically buying exclusivity. But it doesn't always work out. It makes you wonder how often deals like this fall apart behind the scenes that we never hear about.
Of a PlayStation Pro, we can build a PC that will absolutely destroy a PlayStation, but the PlayStation's $500. It's $200 cheaper than this.
So, you know how Horizon Zero Dawn is this super intense game with a serious plot, right? It's all about Aloy fighting robot dinosaurs, dealing with the collapse of humanity, and facing some heavy themes like isolation and survival. Well, you know they're making a Lego version of it, called Lego Horizon Adventures. But honestly, from what I read in Vicky Blake's Eurogamer article, it sounds like Lego Horizon Adventures actually works. I know it seems strange to mix this deep, mature game with the playful vibe of Lego, but it somehow finds a balance. Instead of just copying the serious tone of Horizon Zero Dawn, this game embraces the goofy, slapstick humor Lego is known for. So picture this. Aloy is still running around fighting those robotic creatures, but instead of just using her bow and arrows like in the original game, she can now pull out things like a hot dog stand, yes, really, and use it as a weapon. The guy running the stand actually throws exploding hot dogs at enemies. It's the kind of silly Lego fun that works perfectly here. And if you accidentally set the grass on fire with one of Aloy's arrows, which, let's be honest, I would totally do, do, she might even catch herself on fire. Then you'd have to dunk her in water to put it out. It's this mix of goofy, chaotic fun that makes the LEGO games stand out, and it's all over this one. Another cool thing is that even though it's based on Horizon Zero Dawn, which was only on PlayStation, this LEGO version is coming to more platforms like Nintendo Switch and PC. It's got a much more accessible vibe, so you don't need to have played the original Horizon games to enjoy it. Plus, it's really cool to see Aloy's more playful side in this version. Instead of always being this super serious warrior, she makes silly jokes about sandwiches with Rost, her mentor from the original game, and she just seems to be having a lot more fun. Even the voice actress, Ashley Birch, apparently had a blast coming back to do this version of Aloy. What's surprising is that the game gives you options for difficulty. In most LEGO games, you can't really lose. If you get knocked out, you just respawn and keep going like nothing happened. But here, if you play on a harder difficulty, there are actual stakes. If Aloy or her co-op partner goes down, there's a chance you might have to restart a battle if you both get wiped out. It adds a bit more of a challenge for older players, which is a nice touch. But don't worry, the game still lets you dial the difficulty back down if you're playing with kids or just want a breezy experience. They've also made the story a lot lighter to fit the LEGO world. So for example, one of the bad guys in Zero Dawn, Helis, is super ruthless and violent in the original game. But in LEGO Horizon Adventures, they turn him into this clumsy, buffoon-like character. There's this one scene where he sets his own hand on fire and runs around like a cartoon character. He's still a villain, but the way they portray him is more funny than scary. It's definitely more kid-friendly, but without losing the fun of the original plot. And then, on top of all that, they've added cool little things like customizing Aloy's outfits with pieces from other LEGO sets, like Ninjago and LEGO City. You also get to build stuff in the hub world, which is fun if you're into collecting studs and unlocking all the extra goodies. So overall, it seems like LEGO Horizon Adventures has taken the world of Horizon Zero Dawn and made it more accessible and fun for younger players, while still offering enough challenge and depth for older fans of the series. It's like a mashup of the best parts of LEGO and Horizon, and honestly, I think it's going to be a hit with families. Plus, who wouldn't want to fight robot dinosaurs with exploding hot dogs? Does that sound like something you'd be into? Stellar Blade just got a PS5 Pro update, and it's pretty awesome. The new update, version 1.008, adds support for the PS5 Pro, which is perfect if you're using the upgraded console. The coolest part is they've introduced a high frame rate HFR mode that makes the game run even smoother by reducing input lag and improving frame rate. If you have a 120Hz TV or monitor, you can enable 120Hz output in your PS5 settings to fully enjoy this mode. There are also different graphics options you can choose from: performance mode, balanced mode, and resolution mode. On the PS5 Pro, there's also an enhanced balanced mode, which uses PSSR tech for even better quality, and a max enhanced resolution mode for higher frame rates with top-tier visuals. The update includes some minor bug fixes too, but the developers haven't released official patch notes yet. Just know it's going to make your game look and play even better.